Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. Y'all, you can tell by all this and all this that I just got done working out. Well, let me tell you what's going on. So the felons and I came out here just to sit outside, enjoy this lovely weather, have a cup of coffee, and I'm about to start reading a new book. But I felt like I needed to check in with y'all and let you know that we're starting a new book before I start, because otherwise I feel like I'm cheating. So before we get into all that, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. All right, y'all, let's talk about this. I'm about to start reading Binding 13. And by about to start reading, I mean like right now. I'm going to sit outside and I'm going to read this book for a little while. Then I'm going to go take a shower, get cleaned up, and then I'm probably going to read for a little while longer. Now I know Binding 13's been out for a while, and there's Keeping 13, and then there's like Finding 6 or Meeting 6 or doing something with 6 and then something else with 6. There are 4 books already in this series. I know. So these were released by the author, so they're like independent releases, and I think they've been picked up by a big publisher or by a publisher. So they're about to be re-released. For some reason, I don't know why, I have no explanation. Y'all, do I have an explanation for half the things that I do? I got this bee in my bonnet and decided that I needed... Seriously, the wind just started blowing and that thing just started doing. So I'm going to wrap this up and go start reading. But I decided that I needed the original releases of these books because look, they have these cute covers. And the new releases just have like the number and the word. Like the new release of this just has 13 and it says Binding 13 on it. Who even wants that? Plus, it doesn't come out for a little minute. But, so 4 of them are out already. And they're coming out as like the new releases and they're like sort of trickling them out. Well, sometime next year, the 5th and 6th book are coming out. So, and again, y'all know that I do this. I decide that I'm going to read a whole series without even reading the first book yet. Well, welcome to my world. So I want to read these before books 5 and 6 come out so I can be in love with all of the characters and care when the 5th and 6th books come out. So let me calm down. Let me read for a while. So I'm going to start reading Binding 13 right now, sitting out here drinking my coffee. Then I'm going to take a shower and get cleaned up. We'll read a little more and then I'll come back and tell you what I've learned, what I think, and what I know. And hopefully you can hear me right now over all this noise out here. So y'all sit tight, enjoy a tasty beverage, and I'll be back and let you know what I know. All right, I haven't actually made it to the shower yet. I'm working my way that way, but I ended up sitting outside a little longer than I meant to reading Binding 13. But y'all, I realized I didn't tell you anything about the book, mostly because I didn't really know anything about the book, but now I know a little bit of something. And let me say this. I realize I'm way late to the party on this book. I know that most everybody's already read it, and folks that haven't already read it are probably going to read it when it comes out for real in, I think, a couple of months is when Binding 13 comes out, like the publication of it, whatever. But here's what I now know. Shannon, well, it's set in Ireland, and Shannon is our FMC, and this is Johnny. I think we're going to love him. The book starts, we meet Shannon first, and she's just this itty-bitty little broken, sweet little broken child of a thing. I think she's, I don't know, maybe 13, 14. So it's set in Ireland, and they're teenagers, and so their age is kind of marked by their year in school, and it's way different over there than it is here. So I don't really get it so much so far, but Shannon tells us stories of having been bullied, like horrible stories of having been bullied. Y'all, I don't typically do trigger warnings, but they jump straight off to some triggering, like straight out the gate. So if like stories of bullying and those kind of things are going to set you off, this isn't the one. And I don't think it's going to get any better as the story progresses, because that's a lot of her character, it seems like, because, why am I holding this book? Because she seems really sort of broken and molded by these experiences that she's had like her whole life. I mean, and who wouldn't be really? But anyway, so the book starts off with us learning that she's going to this new school because she's so terribly bullied at her old school. So it starts off on her first day at this new school, and we go to school with her, where we meet Johnny. I need both hands to talk about Johnny. Where we meet Johnny, who's a big old rugby player. And y'all, the first thing, I think it was the first thing that we hear about Johnny is an article from the paper. The paper, I'm so old, but an article from social media or whatever about Johnny Kavanagh and how he's this great rugby player. So I feel like that's going to be a defining characteristic of Johnny, as the, not just that he's a rugby player, but that he's expected to be this great rugby player, because otherwise, why would that be the first thing that we learn about him? So anyway, that's really all that I know so far. They just met when he accidentally bashed her in the head with a rugby ball. And y'all, I'm only like 40 pages into this 500-page book, and it's moving pretty quickly. Thank goodness, because like I said, it's a 500-page book. So I don't know if y'all can see this just mess in my kitchen. That's why we're in here. I need to clean up my kitchen some. I'm actually gonna get in the shower, and the intern just stopped over there. He's going... His mama called him and asked him to come over and hang out with his nephews at her house with his stepdad. So that's like code for babysit. You use hang out with people that don't babysit. So he's going to babysit his nephews for the day. So I get to read. So let me clean up. Let me actually wash this. And I'm going to read some more, and I'll come back and let y'all know how it's going. All right, so y'all sit tight and I'll be back. Y'all, I finally made it to the shower. I got the kitchen cleaned up. I got some laundry going. Can you hear that? If you can, sorry about that, but I got the laundry going. So the pupsies and I have been sitting on the couch reading some Binding 13. So good. So I told you it's about Shannon and Johnny, and that it sort of starts off with a meet cute. Is it a meet cute when he bashes her in the head with the rugby ball? I mean, it's on accident, but that's a meet cute, right? So anyway, starts off with their little meet cute, and then I'm like 100-something pages in now, I guess, and the story is developing around their relationship and their group of friends. And of course, they all go to this Tommen school, Tommen College in Ireland. And so they're all friends, and they live in kind of like different like they don't all necessarily live in the same neighborhood because they all go to this college. So it's not like a neighborhood school or something. And we sort of watch the development and like the interplay of their relationship. So there's the Shannon and Johnny thing. And then there are other relationships that sort of build around that. And I wonder if you don't really like the people, like all the people, or you're not invested in them. I love it. I love them. I think they're great. I love the banter between them. I love the interplay between the characters. I love how, like, Shannon's best friend lives across the street from Johnny's best friend. So it's cute how that, like, sort of plays into the whole relationship thing. But I wonder if you didn't like all of those relationships or all of those characters, or if you didn't care about them, if maybe you wouldn't like the book. But I love all of that. I love all of them. So I'm really enjoying it. I love the banter. The conversations are so good. Y'all, there are like scenes that had me literally laughing out loud. Like scenes of banter between the boys, the rugby team, like the boys on the team. So funny, so well written, really quick, very natural. And they're Irish, so I'm just loving the sort of Irish colloquialisms, especially the ones that I have literally no idea what they mean. So I'm like trying to figure them out in context. And when the context is just like Johnny yelling it at his best friend Gibbsy, that's really kind of no context. So it's just fun and it's really funny. But as far as the characters so far, Shannon, I think I told you, Shannon is just broken, right? That she grew up being abused in her school, like from when she was little. She is savagely bullied. And we find out, I feel like it's not a spoiler, we find out pretty early on that her dad's aggressive and mean to her as well. So another trigger warning there. It's bad, y'all. It's harsh. I don't think the scenes of violence are really graphic, but the depiction of violence in the relationships is, I don't know, I guess I would call it harsh. So if you're sensitive to those kind of things, maybe this isn't the one for you. Because I'm feeling it as I'm reading it in this book. So Shannon is just this sweet, and she's tiny. Like, she's this itty bitty little girl, and you read about all of these people being mean to her, and it's just rough. And then Johnny is this like big burly rugby player who wants nothing more than to protect her. Did I say that already? He bashes her accidentally. He kicks a rugby ball because he's having a fit, and it bashes her in the head, knocks her cold out. And so from then on, he just wants to protect her. And it's interesting, the juxtaposition between how Johnny feels and acts towards Shannon, and then how he is like with his friends and really kind of with everybody else. Because with everybody else, he's this big, like, rough, burly rugby player. And with Shannon, he's just this big, sweet teddy bear that just wants to protect her. So it's really sweet. It's really cute. I'm very much enjoying it. I'm going to get back to reading, but I wanted to check in and let y'all know what I'm thinking and what I'm reading, because I know I'm going to read a whole bunch more, and y'all know how I get to where I'm like, wait, did I tell you this? Did I tell you that? And I'm already doing that, and I'm only about a fourth, maybe a fifth of the way in. So I'm going to read some more. I'll check in with y'all probably in the morning and let you know how it's going and what I've learned and what I think. So y'all enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I will see you in the morning. Morning, y'all. I should go ahead and apologize because I, honest to goodness, had every intention of checking in with y'all before I got on the bike and telling you what I'd read and what was happening and all the things. But then I got all excited and I was missing my Johnny, so I was like, well, I'll just ride and then check in with them after. And so now you got this to deal with. I'm sorry, I'm sweaty, I'm gross. I sweated, sweat. I past tensed of sweated, sweat. Past tense of the verb to sweat for 2 hours on the bike whilst reading about Johnny Kavanagh. And y'all, I sweat so hard. I can't believe I'm telling y'all this. I need coffee is the problem here. That my need of coffee is the problem more than my physical condition, because I'm going to tell y'all that I sweat so profusely. You can probably see that I'm wearing a pink sports bra underneath my white t-shirt. Classy. I sweat so much during that ride, that series of rides, that my under actually bled through my white t-shirt. So there's like pink streaks in my white t-shirt. I know, classy. My mama is so proud right now. And she's saying, can you stop showing your underwear to the internet? I know, I'm sorry. Let me calm down. I need to get this coffee made so we can talk. So y'all, hang on. Let me get my coffee going. Hang on. All right, that's a start. Now let's move over here where we're not all up in each other's grill. Y'all just saw my pink streaks, didn't you? So classy. All right, let me try to get out of this light. No, it's just, the light's just gonna be bad. I'm sorry. I'm gonna talk quickly so we can get this done and move on, and I can go back to reading. I'm gonna take my hair down, see if that helps. All right, so let's talk. So we are reading Binding 13. We are way into it at this point. My dog, sorry, hang on. My dogs are losing their minds because they want a bite of my banana. All right. All right, let me take my hair down. Let me get settled. And this is actually getting worse. We can talk about this book. So when last we spoke, I don't remember what was happening. I think we knew that we know our main characters, Johnny and Shannon. This is just going to get worse. I'm so, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. So we know our main characters, Johnny and Shannon. We know that Shannon is being abused, right? That she was bullied at her old school. That's why she's come to, I believe it's Toman College, but in my head it's Tommen. So I apologize ahead of time. Y'all, it's a book set in Ireland, so there's all these like Irish pronunciations that I pronounce Americanly in my head. So I apologize ahead of time because I'm going to say things wrong. But anyway, Shannon goes to Tommen College, which is a private school where her mom is sacrificing hugely to send her to this private school because she's so savagely bullied at her old public college. And her dad is 0% supportive of anything. Her dad's abusive. She meets Johnny on day one when he bops her in the head with a rugby ball. That's their meet cute. And he immediately gets this sense from her that she needs to be like, that he, I guess that he wants to take care of her. And the principal of the school says something about her having been bullied or abused or something at her old school. And he's like, what? Who could possibly be mean to this sweet little precious thing? So he immediately has this feeling of like protectiveness over her. And it just sort of grows and builds throughout the book. And okay, now I'm getting into the, I don't want to say things and spoilers, but let me say this. It is an exceptionally slow burn. And y'all, I'm here for the whole thing. Because it's not like an annoying slow burn. It's a slow burn where you watch their relationship develop and it's like, it's really charming. So, or you'll find it completely annoying and you'll hate the whole thing. Like if you just want a sort of wham bam thank you ma'am, this is not the one. But there are interesting things that develop, like that you can sort of take your time and watch happen during this slow burn. So we know that Shannon is being abused, right? That bad things are happening to her and that she's being hurt. Well, as is typical of somebody who is in an abusive relationship, which that's what this is, right? Like it's a situation of domestic abuse where the abuser is her parent. And y'all, we get that sense like straight out of the gate. So sorry if that's any kind of spoiler. I don't think it is. So Shannon hides like her injuries and her pain that she gets from being abused. And at the same time, Johnny, and we do know this from Jump, from the very beginning, from that first article that we read about Johnny, we know that he's injured, that he's at Tommen Academy trying to rehab a groin injury. Sorry, all the gentlemen watching this, I apologize. I know y'all all just cringe. But Johnny's there, and one of the things that he's doing is he's rehabbing a groin injury. And every athlete who's ever played injured ever knows that that's something that you hide, right? Even if it's known, even if your injury is like a known thing, you hide how hurt, like you hide how much you're injured or how much it affects your game or the sort of the way in which you're injured because it just shows weakness. It shows your opponent how they can hurt you. So Johnny is hiding that and Shannon is hiding the fact that she's being abused and the bruises and all the injuries that she has. So they both have these huge like physical injury pain things that they're hiding, and they're hiding them from the rest of the world and they're trying to hide them from each other. But that's part of this slow burn. Like as they get to know each other and as we watch them get to know each other, we watch them recognize these things in each other, and it's just really cool. I was thinking either last night or I think last night, well, early this morning as I was reading, because y'all, I stayed up way too late last night reading this book. I'll finish it probably this afternoon, but I was thinking as I was reading it, it's advertised, listed, shelved, whatever as YA. Y'all know that I have this 15-year-old student that I read with. I call her my 15-year-old best friend. And that's sort of my measure for like true YA. Like I think of YA as like high school. Because, you know, that's young adult. Young adult to me is not like early 20s. I think they call that new adult in literature. So when I see YA, I think high school kids. Would I want my 15-year-old best friend reading this book? No. Like there are some, even beyond the adult thing. Okay. I don't think my 15-year-old best friend should read this book. I definitely would not want to read this book with my 15-year-old best friend. And to me, those are two very different things. Like, there's stuff that I think she's mature enough to read, but not with her, like, adult reader friend. So this, to me, this is not YA. This is not like high school YA. There's lots of language. Like, there's, you know, regular language, and then there's like Irish slur. Like, I'm learning Irish slurs that I didn't even know before, and they're like, now I can speak naughty in Irish as well. So I don't think it's YA like high school YA. I think it's more like college YA or like new adult YA, even though it's about a 15-year-old girl or 15-year-old girl and an 18-year-old, 17-year-old boy. The things they do and the themes addressed in this book are not for teenagers, like young high schoolers. So anyway, I hope I've said some things. I'm hungry and I'm tired and I need to eat breakfast. So I feel like I'm rambling. I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna jump off here, eat my breakfast, get cleaned up, do some work, and then read some more. And I'll come back with my wrap up at the end and let you know. I'm certain I'm still gonna love it, but let you know if I still love it and give you my final thoughts, all right? So y'all have a great day, and I'll be back to wrap up Binding 13. Y'all, we finished Binding 13, and I miss Johnny already. Make sure that's the front of the book, not the back. But I miss Johnny already. Like I said, I suspected I would still love the book at the end, and I do. I still love Johnny. I want to say just a couple of things, and I should set myself a timer because y'all, I could seriously sit here for an hour and 27 minutes and talk to you about my love for Johnny Kavanagh. But I just want to say a couple of things about why I enjoyed this book so much. Obviously, I like the characters, I like the story, but the author does a really good job of sort of highlighting the difference between the characters without like bashing you in the face with it. I don't know if we talked about this at all, but Johnny is a have and Shannon is a have not. Like, we learn through drips and drabs and then like in a big old chunk that Johnny's family is not poor. And we know from the jump that Shannon's family is poor. And there are just some subtle things, like we already talked about how Johnny accidentally bashed Shannon in the head with a rugby ball. Well, Shannon talks to Johnny's mom about it, and Johnny's mom offers to pay for Shannon's medical bills. And Shannon's like, oh no, I have a medical card, which I guess is like an Irish colloquialism for like being on Medicaid or whatever the like government provided medical care is. And I feel like that's just sort of a subtle way of showing the difference between Johnny's family and like the having and Shannon's family and the having not, and how Johnny's mom doesn't even think about that. I don't know, I just thought that was an sort of interesting, like little subtle detail. And we talked about how sort of broken and damaged Shannon is, but I don't think we talked at all about how damaged and broken Johnny's. I mean, we talked about like physically how broken he is, that like he's got this devastating groin injury that he's nursing, but Johnny also has this big thing going on where he's this huge rugby star. And I know we talked about that and how that's the first thing that we learn about him as a character. Well, I think that's really intentional by the author, because that's the first thing that a lot of people know about Johnny Kavanagh, and that's all they know about him, or that's all they care about him. And to him, to Johnny, that's like where his worth comes from. And if he doesn't have rugby, he has nothing. And he tells us that throughout the book, that like he's worked super hard for the past 7 years, 7 years, and been completely dedicated to rugby. And if it falls apart, he has nothing. And y'all, that's a lot. This kid's 18. I don't even think he's 18 in the book. I don't think he's, okay, he is at most 18. That's a lot for an 18-year-old to be thinking about and be carrying around. And the author doesn't play the athlete has to make good to drag his family, out of poverty trope, because Johnny's family's not in poverty. That's not why he feels like he has to do good and do well. That's not why Johnny, where did that just come from? That's not why Johnny feels like he has to do well and be successful. He feels like he has to do well and be successful at rugby because that's who he thinks he is as a person. And you see it like weighing on him and dragging him down and degrading his love of the game as you watch him throughout the book. And if you pay attention to that, y'all, it's a little bit heartbreaking. And now I'm scared to read the next book because we learn in this book, in Binding 13, that this author is not scared to break our hearts or to scare us or to not have things go right for us or our characters. So now I'm a little bit afraid, and I've got 3 more books to go. So that's Binding 13. I love it. The ending was fantastic. It was as good as I think it was going to be. But now I'm very afraid about what's going to come next for Johnny and Shannon and Gibbsy and Joey and just all our friends. So, y'all, I'm going to leave it there because, like I said, I could talk for an hour and 27 minutes about this, but I feel like I've already been talking for an hour. So I love Binding 13. I love Johnny. I love how Johnny loves Shannon, and I will most definitely be reading Keeping 13, just not right now because my heart needs a little bit of a break. So I'm done with that, and now I don't know what I'm going to read next. Y'all, what are you reading? Let us know in the comments what you've been reading, what you're reading now, and what you're going to read next. Maybe we can get some ideas from you. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you made it this far, we are most definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos at the beginning of every week with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.